You can help yourself to some fondue.
You heard of me?
I heard you're the devil.
He was once Disney's golden boy, but behind the scenes, something darker was unraveling.
Hanging out with the videos and them.
Hey, Creeper, come here real quick. Say what's up.
What's up? Bang, 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 bang.
They go, okay, Shia, you trying to learn the role? That's cool. Shia go, nah, I'm in the gang.
The story of Shia LaBeouf, Hollywood actor turned gangster, isn't just a sensational title, it's a confession.
Hi. By the time you see this, I'll probably already be in Washington.
From Even Stevens to Transformers, fans thought he was just method acting.
They go to the bathroom and they see Shia cutting his face, blood everywhere. Brad says, Shia? Shia go, my character probably cuts his face because how he shoots the thing on top of the tank, hanging out with the videos and them.
Hey, Creeper, come here real quick. Say what's up.
What's up? Bang, 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 bang.
They go, okay, Shia, you trying to learn the role? That's cool. Shia go, nah, I'm in the gang.
But Shia admitted he actually joined a real gang. He sliced his own face, pulled out a tooth, and got tied to Harpy's Gang 13. The line between performance and reality vanished. What drove him there, and why does it still haunt him? Chapter 1. From Disney darling to dangerous descent.
Hi. By the time you see this, I'll probably already be in Washington.
Shia LaBeouf wasn't just a child actor. He was a full-blown phenomenon by the time he hit his teens. As the star of Even Stevens, he became Disney Channel's royalty, winning over fans with his comedic timing, wild energy, and natural talent. But if you look closely, even in those early years, something felt off. There was a restlessness behind the humor, a volatility in his eyes that didn't match the polished Disney image. Some fans now say Shia always seemed like he was performing under pressure. He didn't just act, he attacked every scene like it was a personal war. And even when the cameras weren't rolling, he had this heavy, raw presence about him. Unlike other teen stars who seemed happy to coast on fame, Shia looked like he was dragging a lifetime of trauma behind him. And he was. While Disney built him up as the clean-cut boy next door, Shia was living through chaos behind the curtain. His father, Jeffrey LaBeouf, was a Vietnam veteran and former clown struggling with serious addiction and mental health issues. His mother, Shayna, was nurturing and loving but constantly overwhelmed, trying to keep their lives from falling apart at the seams. There was no stable foundation. There was no safety net. And even as a child, Shia knew that. His home wasn't a refuge, it was a battlefield. He's opened up about being terrified of going home after shoots. Hollywood might have felt intense, but it was still safer than his actual reality. The sets and scripts gave him structure, but the moment he left that controlled environment, he was right back in the emotional fire. This constant emotion swing between success and suffering created a duality inside him. He could make audiences laugh while battling darkness privately, and that internal conflict never really went away. It just got louder as he grew up. As the fame grew, so did the damage. By the time Shia transitioned into blockbuster territory with Transformers, he was carrying a decade of unprocessed pain. On the surface, he was one of Hollywood's most promising young stars, charismatic, bankable, and edgy. But underneath, he was still that scared kid trying to survive a war he didn't start. And this is where the descent begins. Because Shia LaBeouf didn't just fall off, he ran off the rails hard and fast. Not just drinking, not just partying, but pushing himself to physical and emotional extremes that most actors wouldn't dare touch. We're talking about slicing open his own face for a movie role, pulling out one of his teeth on set, getting arrested repeatedly, crashing cars, getting kicked off sets for violent behavior. This wasn't about acting anymore. This was a self-destruction method acting as a form of punishment. And somewhere along the line, Shia stopped pretending. The line between the roles he played and the person he became blurred until it vanished completely. He wasn't just spiraling, he was transforming from a Disney darling into something far more dangerous. And when he finally admitted to joining a real-life gang, Harpy's Gang 13, it confirmed what fans had long suspected. This wasn't just about Hollywood. Shia LaBeouf was chasing pain, violence, and identity in the streets, not for a role, but because he didn't know who he was without chaos. Chapter 2. Hollywood warped him fast. The fame didn't ease him into the spotlight. It slammed into him like a truck. One moment Shia LaBeouf was the quirky kid from Holes, the next he was headlining multi-million-dollar blockbusters and walking red carpets across the world. But there was no pause, no time to breathe or adjust, and Shia, already fragile from a chaotic childhood, got swallowed by the Hollywood machine almost overnight. The money came fast. The movie deals were massive. Transformers turned him into a global icon before he even hit his mid-20s. But behind the scenes, everything was unraveling. There was no real support system, no close friends who weren't paid, no emotional grounding to keep him centered. Hollywood gave him everything except peace. Every time the camera stopped rolling, Shia's inner chaos took over. He didn't just act intensely, he lived it. Alcohol became his constant companion, bar fights, public meltdowns, and violent outbursts followed him everywhere. The arrests started piling up, and the fans who once loved him for his vulnerability started watching in disbelief as he self-destructed in real time.
So I'm sitting at a bar and I'm drinking a whole lot of whiskey and I'm watching this World Cup. It's South Korea versus, I forget the other team, Lithuania or something. Okay. And I really care at this point. I mean, I'm drunk enough to really care.
In 2014, things reached a disturbing low. Shia showed up to a Broadway performance of Cabaret, absolutely wasted. He shouted obscenities, smoked inside the theater, and even tried to grab the actors mid-performance. Audience members watched in horror. When police arrived, they had to physically wrestle him to the ground and drag him out of the building. It wasn't a scandal, it was a full-blown cry for help. And this wasn't an isolated incident, it was a pattern, one that kept getting darker. After that, Shia started showing up in headlines for all the wrong reasons again and again. But what struck fans as strange was how his appearance began to change. The polished Hollywood kid was gone. In his place was someone rougher, colder. Tattoos started covering his body. His style shifted from edgy celebrity to something closer to gang culture. The look wasn't just rebellious, it was survivalist. Lots of fans believe that this period marked the beginning of something more than just a breakdown. Some say this was when Shia began turning gangster not for shock value or aesthetic, but for protection. He was falling apart in public, and the people around him were not lifelines. Fame had made him a target, and in his mind, the only way to stop being prey was to become being something dangerous. The shift wasn't external, it was mental, emotional, and spiritual. Shia was tired of being controlled, tired of being hurt, tired of being vulnerable, so he became what he thought the world respected: violent, unshakable, unafraid. But it wasn't respect he found. It was a deeper kind of darkness, one that would lead him straight into the streets and into the arms of a real gang. Chapter 3: The Fury Set. Cutting his face, losing his mind. By 2014, Shia LaBeouf's unraveling was no longer just tabloid fodder. It was seeping into his work, and nowhere was that more clear than on the set of Fury, a brutal World War II film where he starred alongside Brad Pitt. But unlike the other actors, Shia didn't just play the role, he lived it, fully, obsessively, dangerously.
He was this guy who came in, he like pulled his tooth out because he thought his character shouldn't have a tooth. You know, he like cut his face, you know, he didn't shower for 8 months and
Instead of relying on makeup or camera tricks, Shia made a shocking decision. He physically cut his own face, not once, but every single day during filming. He reportedly used a real blade to create realistic wounds, wanting to match the gritty look of a wartime soldier. And that wasn't the end of it. He also yanked out one of his own teeth. No stunt double, no props, just pain. And to top it off, he refused to shower for weeks, not as a gimmick, not as a joke. He did it to feel the discomfort, the grime, the exhaustion of a real soldier on the battlefield. His co-stars were disturbed. Some couldn't talk to him between takes. Others outright avoided him, calling his behavior unhinged. The set became a tense place, with Shia drifting further from his castmates and deeper into isolation. Some chalked it up to extreme method acting. Others called it a mental breakdown in slow motion. But fans who followed his journey knew this wasn't just about acting anymore. Something was seriously broken. The pain, the self-harm, the obsession with becoming someone else, it wasn't for the camera. It was a coping mechanism, a desperate attempt to feel something real. And shortly after Fury wrapped, things took an even darker turn. That's when the whispers started about Shia's connection to Harpy's Gang 13, a real street gang based on South Central Los Angeles, known for its violent reputation and deep roots in the neighborhood. It sounded too wild to be true, a Disney kid running with gang members? But Shia didn't deny it. In fact, he leaned into it hard. He started wearing gang-affiliated clothes, he adopted their slang, he even moved into an area close to where the gang was most active, immersing himself in their world. Some say he was researching a role, but others aren't so sure, because there was no movie being made, no script, no cameras rolling. Just Shia drifting deeper into a life that looked more like survival than performance. Whatever started on the Fury set didn't end with a final take. It became a trigger, a point of no return. After cutting himself, pulling out teeth, and pushing his body to the brink, Shia didn't come back as the same person. He wasn't just acting anymore. He was trying to disappear into a new identity, one where no one could hurt him, one where he was feared, not mocked, one that didn't belong to Hollywood at all. Chapter 4. Shia joins Harpy's Gang 13. Real or roleplay? This was the moment that made the internet explode. After Fury, fans noted Shia LaBeouf's behavior becoming more erratic, but nothing could prepare them for what happened next. While prepping for The Tax Collector, a gritty gangland film released in 2020, Shia wasn't just rehearsing lines or rehearsing scenes, he was embedding himself into a world few outsiders ever touch. He claimed he went all in with Harpy's Gang 13, one of the most notorious and violent gangs in South Central Los Angeles. At first, people thought it was just another case of method acting pushed too far. After all, Shia had a reputation by then for blurring the line between performance and self-destruction. But this time, it wasn't just rumors or set gossip. Shia said it himself. In raw interviews and podcast conversations, he told the world he didn't just visit Harpy's Gang 13, he got put on. The term put on isn't something actors throw around lightly. In gang culture, it means you didn't just shake hands, you got jumped in, you took the beat down, you proved loyalty with blood and bruises. And Shia insisted that's exactly what happened. According to him, there was no faking, no pretending. He was living with them, he was running missions, he was speaking their language, and most shockingly, he was earning their respect. Then came the tattoo. Fans were stunned when photos emerged of a massive ink piece stretching across Shia's entire torso. In bold Gothic letters, it read, Creeper, the name of his character in The Tax Collector. At first, people assumed it was movie makeup, something temporary. But insiders revealed it was 100% real. No removable prosthetics, no camera magic. Shia had gotten a real gang-style tattoo to reflect the role, or maybe to reflect the life he was slipping into. The artist who did the work even admitted that Shia insisted on it being authentic. No touch-ups, no half measures, just raw, painful ink carved directly into his chest as a permanent reminder of what he'd become. According to the tattooist, Shia said he was tired of pretending. That line hit hard, because up until that point, pretending was what made Shia famous. Acting, performing, playing the part. But now it was different. Now he wasn't acting anymore. He was becoming. The internet went into overdrive, Reddit threads lit up. TikToks dissected every tattoo, every interview clip. Was Shia faking it for the cameras again, or had he really crossed over? Was this all just another disturbing chapter in his obsession with method acting? Or was it something far deeper, something dangerous? Critics were divided. Some called it cultural appropriation, others called it reckless and delusional. But a growing number of fans believed the unthinkable. Shia LaBeouf, once Disney's lovable goofball, had actually been welcomed into a real criminal crew. And not as a mascot or a guest, but as one of them. What made it even more shocking was that there was no major film push at the time. No massive press tour, no strategic rollout. It wasn't a publicity stunt. It was personal. This wasn't just a character study, it was identity theft of his own soul. And Shia wasn't hiding it, he was owning it, posting cryptic photos, dropping raw, vulnerable interviews, and when people asked if he was afraid of what he'd become, he didn't flinch. Chapter 5. Real Ones Know. Shia's Code of Loyalty. This wasn't a movie anymore. By the time Shia LaBeouf sat down with John Bernthal for the Real Ones podcast, the internet had already been flooded with speculation. Was he still acting? Was this all one giant performance piece? Or had Shia really changed forever? What came out in that interview silenced a lot of doubters. Shia didn't brag, he didn't sensationalize. He spoke plainly, and that's what made it even more unsettling. He revealed that joining Harpy's Gang 13 wasn't for a role or some behind-the-scenes documentary. It was for survival, for identity, for family. He said the gang gave him something Hollywood never could: structure, love, authenticity. This wasn't a flex, it wasn't about being cool or dangerous. In fact, Shia never publicly boasted about it until years later. He didn't do press tours, he didn't monetize the experience. He absorbed it, carried it in his body. And that's what fans found so chilling, because this wasn't a Hollywood actor pretending to be a gangster. This was a man who felt more at home among street soldiers than studio executives. A man who found loyalty, pain, and purpose in a place most people would never survive. And here's where the conspiracy theories started rolling in. Some fans began to suspect that Shia wasn't just embedded with a gang for authenticity, he was being used. Rumors started swirling online that Harpy's Gang 13 might have had their own reasons for bringing him in. That maybe they used him to clean money through his film projects, that maybe he was offered protection from dangerous Hollywood players in exchange for loyalty, that maybe, just maybe, Shia wasn't just a participant, he was a pawn. The internet ran wild. TikToks broke down his sudden career choices. Reddit threads linked timelines between his arrests, projects, and rumored gang connections. Some even suggested that Shia's erratic behavior over the years, from his infamous "I'm not famous anymore" bag stunt to his intense silence at red carpet events, might have been coded messages, signs that he was trapped, controlled, or worse, initiated. Of course, none of this is confirmed. But the dots were there, the tattoos, the shift in tone, the hardened face, the broken smile, everything pointed to a man who had crossed the line and never came back. And the most disturbing part? Shia didn't seem lost. He seemed found, because in his own words, the gang gave him real love, real structure, and when you look back at his life, a childhood filled with fear, addiction, and instability, it makes sense. Shia wasn't chasing chaos, he was chasing belonging. The Hollywood lights gave him fame, but the streets gave him family. And for Shia LaBeouf, that loyalty, that code, it ran deeper than any movie script. Chapter 6: The Arrest, the Breakdown, the Baptism. Savannah, Georgia. That's where it all came crashing down again.
I have rights. I'm an American. You got me in my hotel, arrested me in my hotel for doing what, sir?
Shia LaBeouf, already a tabloid regular by this point, got arrested for public drunkenness. But this wasn't like the other incidents. This time the world saw everything. Leaked police footage showed a completely unhinged Shia screaming at officers, hurling racial slurs, cursing, and pacing like a man possessed. It wasn't just a celebrity meltdown, it was a psychological breakdown on full display. And the backlash was instant. Even Shia's most loyal fans started backing away. Some called for him to be blacklisted permanently. Others questioned whether he was mentally fit to continue acting. The headlines weren't troubled star anymore. They were dangerous, lost cause, cancel him. But just when it looked like his story was over, something happened that no one saw coming. In the wreckage of that arrest, in the rehab that followed, in the shame that blanketed him, Shia LaBeouf found religion. He didn't just find it, he dove headfirst into it.
No courage. You ask others to have courage.
After being cast in the film Padre Pio, where he played the Catholic saint, Shia began studying the gospel as research, but what started as method acting turned into a full-blown spiritual awakening. He started meeting with real priests, reading scripture, and eventually, he got baptized. No cameras, no press tour, no Netflix documentary deal. Just Shia in silence, trying to rebuild himself brick by brick. He would later say the words that shocked even his biggest critics: "Jesus saved my life, I'm not who I was." But here's where the debate got even louder. Was this real redemption or just another performance? Some fans wanted to believe this was his true turning point, a man who had hit rock bottom and clawed his way back. Others were more skeptical, suggesting it was damage control, a PR tactic to scrub his image clean after years of arrests, scandals, and gang rumors. But one thing was clear: Shia had changed. The tattoos were still there, the rage was still visible beneath the surface, but his tone shifted. He started speaking less about Hollywood and more about humility, less about roles and more about regrets, and for the first time in years, he seemed still. But could a man like Shia LaBeouf, who had lived through gang violence, childhood trauma, addiction, and complete psychological collapse, ever really be still? Or was this just the calm before another storm? Because while he claimed he was saved, the darkness never fully left him, not in his interviews, not in his eyes, not in the eerie silence that followed. Chapter 7: Rise of the Internet Prophet. After his breakdown, Shia LaBeouf vanished. No paparazzi sightings, no cryptic tweets, no press junkets, just silence. And when he finally did reappear, something had changed. The wild, erratic star who once headbutted strangers and cursed out cops was calm, quiet, measured. He wasn't shouting at the world anymore. he was whispering about redemption.
Man, there's just like you found a gap. Not a whole lot of places a guy like me can come and talk my truth, or both.
He began showing up in unexpected places, small podcasts, quiet interviews, and low-budget film projects. But it was his appearance on Real Ones with John Bernthal that sent the internet into a frenzy. Gone was the combative energy of old Shia. In its place, a soft-spoken man who quoted scripture like breathwork. He didn't dodge his past, he owned it, and in doing so, he began to reshape his narrative in real time. TikTok lit up with clips of his interview. Fans remixed his quotes with lo-fi beats. Twitter threads dubbed him Hollywood's street prophet, a man who had walked through hell, gang culture, self-destruction, and prison, only to come out baptized and still standing. One quote in particular caught fire. "I didn't find God in church, I found him in a jail cell." That one sentence traveled further than any film promo he ever did. Younger fans started treating him like a cautionary tale turned redemption arc. Others saw him as a kind of modern mystic haunted by demons but guided by something higher. His words were raw, but they weren't rehearsed, and that authenticity is what struck a nerve. Even people who hated him couldn't deny it. Shia had changed, but the big question remained. Was this real growth or just the latest performance in a life full of chaos and confusion? Because if Shia LaBeouf had taught the world anything, is that the line between reality and performance is always razor thin. And maybe that's why fans stayed glued, not because they believed every word, but because deep down, they knew this man was still walking a tightrope between two worlds: Hollywood and the streets, faith and fury, salvation and self-destruction. And nobody, not even Shia, could predict which side he'd land on next. Chapter 8. Still Dangerous. Shia's legal battles and Hollywood beef. Just when it seemed like Shia LaBeouf had turned the page, his past came roaring back.
Just start having an argument with me in the middle of the night, start accusing me of doing all sorts of things, planning to leave him in my head. He'd wake me up and tell me I was disgusting.
In 2020, singer and actress FKA Twigs filed a shocking lawsuit against him, accusing Shia of emotional, physical, and mental abuse. The allegations sent shockwaves across Hollywood. Social media lit up. News outlets dissected every word. And for fans who had just started to believe in Shia's redemption arc, it was like deja vu. The details were dark: manipulation, violence, control. And while Shia didn't deny everything, his public response was hauntingly vague. He admitted to being abusive to himself and others. He didn't fight the narrative. Instead, he disappeared again, this time into a rehab facility. Some fans defended him, citing trauma and untreated mental illness. Others said enough was enough. But through it all, one question hung in the air. Was the new Shia just a mask? The lawsuit put a spotlight on something many had overlooked. You can find God, you can get baptized, but healing doesn't erase the past. And if that past is unresolved, it festers. Even though the case is still ongoing, with no verdict, no closure, the damage to Shia's image was permanent. Studios pulled out of deals, public opinion flipped, and once again, Shia was alone, facing a mirror that refused to lie. Online debates raged. Some said he was a product of pain, not evil. Others believed he was dangerous, plain and simple. And beneath it all, the question of duality kept coming up. Was Shia LaBeouf truly reborn? Or was he living in two worlds, half spiritual, half savage? A man caught between enlightenment and chaos. Because here's the thing about the streets, they don't forget, and neither does Hollywood. And no matter how far Shia tries to run, both of those worlds seem to follow. From child star to war-obsessed actor, gang affiliate to born-again Christian, Shia LaBeouf is one of Hollywood's most unpredictable figures. Some call him a tortured artist. Others say he's chasing a gangster fantasy. Conspiracy theories claim he was shaped by darker forces from the start. Whatever the truth, one thing is clear: Shia LaBeouf became the chaos he tried to escape.